and welcome to the Intel Brief. Today is Friday, 7 March. I'm your host Daniel, and today we'll be covering the Bosnian Serb leader, Dodik, rejects the court summons, the Philippines is probing a network of hundreds of alleged Chinese spies, and Trump has commented on Greenland again. So firstly, Republika Srpska leader Milorad Dodik has refused to comply with a court summons on charges of attempting to overthrow Bosnia and Herzegovina's constitution, calling the case political persecution. Following his recent sentencing to a year in prison and a 6-month ban from politics for passing laws without the approval of the High Representative and Constitutional Court, Dodik declared on social media that Serbs would not submit to what he termed political inquisitions. The High Representative, backed by the US and EU, oversees the implementation of the Daytona Agreement, which ended Bosnia's ethnic war 3 decades ago. Escalating tensions further, Dodik signed new laws banning Bosnia's federal court, prosecutor's office, and police from operating within the Republika of Srpska, reinforcing his defiance against state authorities. He insisted that the Serb entity would only follow its own constitution, rejecting external influence. Dodik's long-standing threats to push for Republika Srpska succession from Bosnia has raised alarm, with political science professor Veldin Kardik warning that the situation is growing increasingly dangerous. An ally of Russian President Vladimir Putin and closely tied to Serbian President Alexander Vučić, Dodik's actions heighten the fear of further destabilization in the Balkan region. So what? In addition to what has been reported above, there was also unconfirmed reports on X that Hungary had placed a special forces team on standby to extract Dodik if he was going to be arrested, which is an interesting move and possibly further indication of his links to pro-Russian groups from both sides, really. It seems highly unlikely that Dodik is going to comply with the prosecutor's office, which creates a tricky situation. Does the Bosnian central government back down, essentially allowing him to break the Daytona Agreement, or do they enter Republika Srpska and hunt him down, which would quite likely lead to a regional conflict and possibly the fracturing of Bosnia? Dodik likely has increased confidence due to his support and reassurances provided to him by Russia, and possibly through Hungary. But this doesn't stop a regional conflict from kicking off. There is possibly some middle ground agreement that they can come to where he gets a slap on the wrist and they can continue leaving him in his position. But that chance seems to be getting slimmer and slimmer by the day. This is some tense times for the Balkans, and it'll be interesting to see what happens. And next, the Philippine authorities have uncovered a widespread network of alleged Chinese spies operating in the country, which is far larger than previously disclosed, according to the senior National Bureau of Investigations official. The spies, believed to be involved in cybercrimes and espionage, have prompted heightened counterintelligence efforts, especially as tensions between Manila and Beijing have intensified. So far, 8 suspects, 6 Chinese nationals and 2 Filipinos have been arrested, with plans to apprehend 8 more. The NBI revealed that the accused conducted surveillance on over 120 locations, including ports and military bases linked to the US-Philippines Defense Agreement. International support for the investigation came from the US FBI and the Australian Federal Police, though both agencies have refrained from public comment on the incident. The espionage concerns come amid growing hostilities over the South China Sea, where Chinese vessels have been accused of ramming Filipino boats. President Frederick Marcos Jr. has voiced alarm over the rise of suspected Chinese spies in the country, a problem exacerbated by the influence of Chinese workers tied to now shuttered online casinos. The NBI linked some espionage activities to remote access tools and CCTV monitoring of Filipino naval movements, but it remains unclear whether these operations were state-sponsored or criminal. China has dismissed these accusations, calling them baseless, and accused the Filipinos of fueling anti-Chinese sentiment. So what? Well, firstly, fueling anti-Chinese sentiment is basically their go-to whenever they get caught doing anything nefarious. While this is a good start, China likely has similar networks of intelligence officers operating throughout Southeast Asia and the Philippines. Although these public arrests may highlight the risks to other countries, more evidence would likely be needed for them to take action. Additionally, the exploitation of these detainees could possibly lead to the discovery of more networks, both within the Philippines and across the region, allowing other police forces or intelligence agencies to conduct further arrests through intelligence sharing agreements. And lastly, addressing the US Congress, President Donald Trump reiterated his desire to bring Greenland under the American control, promising to elevate the island to heights like it had never been seen. Despite his bold statement that the US would acquire Greenland one way or another, Greenland's Prime Minister, Mute Egde, firmly rejected the idea, declaring on social media that Greenland is not for sale and asserting that the people do not wish to become American. The push drew mixed reactions in the US, with Democrats protesting and Republicans showing both support and hesitation, particularly regarding the economic implications. Trump's interest in Greenland is not new, dating back to his first term, driven by the island's valuable mineral resources and strategic Arctic location. Brandon Bourne from the Bertelsmann Institute suggests that while military operations is unlikely, the US may pressure Denmark and Greenland to expand America's military presence on the island. However, any attempt by the US to acquire Greenland would require Danish cooperation, a prospect firmly dismissed by Denmark's defence minister. So what? The assessment from the Bertelsmann Institute makes sense. It seems possible that this might be Trump's plan all along, the whole idea of aim for the stars and you'll land on the moon. This agreement could come into effect as part of tariff negotiations that the US has recently placed on the EU, working towards getting more access to minerals and better military access for radar and naval assets. It'll be interesting to see where and how this issue comes up in future discussions between the US and the EU. Thank you for tuning in to the Intel Brief, your daily update on global geopolitics, brought to you by HM Intelligence. If you want to learn more about intelligence, why not check out one of our courses in the show notes below. Thank you for listening. I've been your host, Daniel, and I'll see you next time.